Good morning, all of you. Once again, during our previous session, we were discussing about we have started with the block cipher principles, block cipher techniques, and also we discussed about the few differences between the stream cipher as well as block cipher. When you talk about stream cipher, again, it's a type of encryption technique where individual characters or bits are encrypted at a time. The problem with this block cipher, I mean the stream cipher technique is if the input size is more or if the input size is bigger, in that cases it requires a lot of time to do the encryption process, right? Apart from that, it no time consuming task, right, in order to generate, right? Again, if you are using the same key, what will happen? The corresponding plain text are repeated again. You will get the same kind of cipher text. Say, for example, if you are using CSS cipher encryption technique or polyalphabetic encryption technique, so that will produce the same kind of cipher text again. With the help of the repeating cipher text, what the message has been transmitted to the receiver, the attacker, there are chances that he easily could get what is the message which is being conveyed, right? To avoid this, we are going with the block cipher encryption technique, right? When we talk about a block cipher encryption technique, instead of encrypting a single character or single bit at a time, block cipher encryption technique allows to encrypt the block of data, where the block of data, right, which could be a 64 bit or 128 bit or 512 bit, the entire 64 bit which will be considered as a plain text, all the 64-bit plain text which are going to be encrypted at the same time with the equal amount of the key, the length of the key which is also going to be equal. So 64-bit plain text that is going to be encrypted with the 64-bit key, so which will produce a 64-bit cipher text, right? So this is what the logic behind the block cipher encryption technique. Also, we started about the Fiestal encryption technique. With that, I was explaining about how the block cipher encryption technique, which are encrypted using a different methods. I hope I'm audible and the presentation screen is visible for all of you. Right. With the continuation of the last lectures, I'll extend the same, right? The VSL cipher encryption technique. Then we'll move on to the next encryption technique, which is data encryption standard, right? When you talk about this VSL cipher encryption technique, again, which was no, which is the based on that SP network, which was introduced by Shannon in the year of 1949, which uses SP network, where S stands for substitution and P stands for permutations, right? When you talk about these substitution as well as permutation combinations, right? And I hope that you're all clear with what is meant by the substitution technique and permutation technique. When you talk about the substitution technique, right, where each and every character present in the plain text which are going to be replaced by the other character, symbol, or some other letters, right? So this is a substitution technique. When you talk about a permutation, right, this permutation again also we can call as a transposition technique, where in the transposition or permutation technique, the position of the plain text which are going to be rearranged so that the plain text, the cipher text, which will be completely in the jumbled order, right? So A stands for substitution using S box, and then permutation will be using the P box. So also this can be called as S box ASP network, which can be called as confusion as well as diffusion technique. When we talk about substitution again, so this can be a confusion, and so this can be a diffusion technique. I hope this is clear, right? Now, when you talk about this, the continuation with the same, right? Again, when we talk about this, suppose let's assume that if the attacker has some information or knowledge about what message has been which are going to be transferred, right? Which is a statistical characteristic of the plain text, right? So say for example, if the encryption is done based on the CC cipher encryption technique, right? So the attacker will easily get what type of message which is going to be transmitted, right? Where there will be the specific relationship or the specific pattern which are going to be used in order to do the encryption. To avoid that, we can go with some other techniques like where we can use one-time pad. With the help of the one-time padding, what is the advantage of using one-time pad encryption technique? So where the key which is not mean a specific characters or specific keys which are going to be not repeated. But here in the one-time padding, you can select any random key. There should not be any relationship between the character which present in the key. So by the way, so this will provide a complete no abstraction of the key what we have used from the attackers, right? Again, so when we talk about diffusion technique, which dissipates the statistical structure of the plain text over bulk ciphertext, as well as when we talk about the confusion, makes a relationship between the ciphertext and the key as complex as possible. With the help of that, the same substitution as well as permutation technique, there is a diffusion as well as confusion technique can be achieved. Also, in the last lecture, I explained about the Fiesel cipher encryption technique or Fiesel cipher structure. Now, when we talk about the Fiesel cipher technique, so this is the base or foundation for the data encryption standard, which we'll study further. Right? I was explaining about how this Fiesel cipher technique which works means. So here, suppose if you are taking any plain text, the plain text which are going to be divided into two half, left half of the data and then right half of the data. But the left half of the data, we are not going to do any operation, but whatever the data which you say, for example, if I'm taking 34-bit plain text or input message, now this will be divided into two of 32-bit and then 32-bit. Now the right 32-bit plain text which are going to be applied into the any round function. So here F stands for Fiesel function. F, I write here, F stands for Fiesel function. It can be any function, XOR function, or any type of mathematical function, right? We will study in the later part, right? So now the size of the key for this Fiesel function is 32. So 32-bit plain text and then 32-bit key. So which will produce again 32-bit intermediate ciphertext. Now this intermediate ciphertext, so that is going to be applied with some XOR operation with the left half of the data. Now this is 32, now this is 32, which will produce 32-bit. Now, so let's assume this is the round one. After completing the round one, the left half of the data and the right half of the data which are going to be interchanged. The left half of the data after processing whatever the output we are getting. So that are going to be swapped to the right half, and then the right half of the data from the round on function. So that will become the left half of the data, right? So by the way, this round function which are going to be repeated as many round which is defined by the algorithm or which is defined by the users. So this is round 2 and then till round n, right? And after that, after completing all the rounds which is defined, right? And whatever the output you are getting, there should be an additional left and right shift which has to be done, right? Again, in order to increase the confusion. Again, whatever the output you are getting, this left 32-bit and then right 32-bit. So 32 plus 32, you will get 64-bit ciphertext. I hope this is clear for all of you. If you have any queries, you can write in the chat box or you can unmute. Any queries regarding the same? Give me a second. I'll make sure that which screen I am recording. I just wanted to confirm. Okay, I'm sharing the entire screen. I'm recording the entire screen. That is fine. Okay. Okay. So here, based on this function, right? Based on this, the list of operations, right? So this substitution, the Fiesel cipher technique, which are going to be achieve the ciphertext, right? So this can process through the multiple rounds, right, which perform substitution on the left half, and then based on the round function of the right half, and then subkey, and they have permutation swapping halves, right? Every after the round. So the list of operation, whatever the mentioned, right, dividing the input into two halves, and then right half of the data which are going to be applied into the round function f with the 32-bit key. Now that will produces 32-bit ciphertext. That ciphertext which are going to be XORed with the left half of the data, so that will produce 32-bit. So after this round one, the left as well as right half of the data which are going to be swapped, and so this process has to be continued as many rounds, n number of rounds, and finally we'll be getting that left 32 as well as right 32, so which will produce a 64-bit ciphertext, right? Again, so the detailed explanations apply a round function f to the right half, which is ri r1, right? Take xr of the output. Why we are using xr function for all these kind of operations? Any guess, any idea what this xr operation will performs if you pass any two inputs, and if you are applying the xr operations? Why we are using XR functions? Why we are selecting XR function? What is the feasibility? Okay, so if there is no idea, then I'll proceed. Okay, so I was explaining about the round key function, right? So here this, as I explained in the previous session also, the sub key. So we may use the same key for all the rounds. From the master key, right? We can derive the key I, which may be derived from the overall key. So where the K will be called as the master key. From the key, right? For every round function, K, Y, or K2 till Kn, for each and every round function, we can generate using the different permutation combination, you will get a different key. So that is called a sub key. Any algorithm which we uses for generating the sub key, which is called a sub key generation algorithms, right? Now, I hope this the FSL cipher encryption technique, which is clear for you. I'll come to that. What is the XR operations, right? Little in the next slide. And there are certain principles which are behind in order to design the FSL cipher technique, right? The first one is that block size. So here the block size, which is completely depends on the input size, right? Increasing the size improves the security but lowers the cipher here. So this means that which may takes a time to produce the ciphertext, right? So here this could be a 64-bit ciphertext or 128-bit plain text or no 256 or 512-bit block, right? So the block size again will be the one factor, right? When we are designing a FSL cipher, we are going to consider. Again, when we talk about the key size, there are certain factors which are going to define the security of any algorithm, whatever we use for encryption or secure communication. The first one is your input size. The second one is the key size. If you are selecting the large key, automatically which increase the security, which makes exhaustive key searching harder, but may slow the cipher. But definitely, when if you are taking the key which is no larger or which is higher in characters, automatically the security will increase. If you are considering only about the security factor, then we'll go with the larger key size, which will automatically increase the key, and automatically depends on the block size as well as key size, the time complexity will increase, right? Again, the third factor which we are going to consider for the FSL cipher design principle is the number of round function. So here, when you talk about the number of round function, how many times you are repeating the functions, right? If you are repeating the round function, so in the previous example I was explaining with that n, suppose if I select n is equal to 10, and number of time I'm repeating the function n is equal to 16 and n is equal to 20, So what this means that I am going to repeat the left swap and then right swap and then no encryption function, right? XR function, which are I am going to repeat for 20 times or 10 times, depends upon the n size, right? So any algorithm which uses higher number of rounds or more number of rounds, so that will automatically has the improved security, right? Again, the subkey generation. When we talk about the subkey generation, what is the possibility? The possibility is that suppose if you are using the same key for all round function, say for example, if I'm using 16 round function, 16 times repeated, right? And if I'm using the same key for all the 16 rounds, now there are chances that the key can be get compromised. If I use a different key, one key for each round, so finally I might have used 16 keys for 16 rounds. Even if the attacker is stronger enough to decrypt the key automatically, so it will take some more time to in order to find a 16 key, right? Say let's assume each key which is 64, you need to try so 2 power 64 combination in order to get a single key, right? By the way, so this has to be repeated for 16 times. So this will be really difficult to crack the key when we are using a different keys for different round functions, right? Again, the round function, again the next factor which is going to define is that the round function, right? So whatever the mathematical function which we are going to use for encryption and decryption, so that is also a matter. If you are using a simple XOR operation, there are chances that so the plain text can be easily compromised. Suppose if you are using complex values or complex formulas like affine cipher where even if the attacker knows the key and you need to find out the what is the constant we have used, we will be multiplying this ax plus b, so a will be the constant. Very similarly, it depends upon the round function which we are selecting for encryption, or the security will increase. Okay, and the next is that the fast software encryption or decryption as well as ease of analysis. So this is completely depends upon the hardware as well as software part, right? Depends upon your the system capability, right? How fast it can produce a ciphertext, which is completely depends upon the protocol which we are using, the algorithm which you are using, depends upon your hardware and software resources, right? So these are the few factors, right, which comes under that design principles of PSS cipher technique. The first one is block cipher, the second one is key size, the third one is number of rounds, and then subkey generation, and then complexity of the round function. The next one is, or the last one is that how fast your software as well as the hardware devices which is capable to produce the cipher text. I hope this is clear. If you have any queries, you can write in the chat box or you can unmute and ask your query. So I hope this is clear. I will proceed further if you are clear with this. Now, in the previous slide, I was explaining about why we need to use the XR function, right? When you talk about the XR function, the logic behind is that if the two input bits are same, 0 0, and it will produce 0 as output. If the two input bits are 1, the XOR operation which will produce 0. If the inputs are different, 1 0 as well as for 0 1, right? So that will produce different output, that is 1, right? So say for example, this is a simple plain text value which is 0 0 1 1 0 1 0 1. If I'm selecting this key value 1 1 1 0 0 1 1, if we are doing the XOR operation for these two values, plain text and then secret key, right? How the XOR will produce the output means if the input values are different, 0 and 1, automatically the output will be 1. Again 0 1 1 1 1 0 0 1 sorry, 101, 000, 101, and then 011, 110. I hope this is clear. When we consider about any XOR operation, XOR gate, right? If the inputs are same, if it is 00, and the output will be 0. If it is 11, the output will be 0. If it is 01 or 10, in that cases, the output will be 1. So this is what the ciphertext which we produce based on the two input values, plain text as well as ciphertext. Sorry, the secret key, and the ciphertext has been produced. When we apply for the decryption, for decryption, one input will be the ciphertext and the another input will be key. If you are applying XOR operation with the ciphertext as well as key, right? So if the inputs are same, 1 1, the output will be 0, again 1 1 0, again 0 1 1, and 1 0 1 0 0 0, 1 0 1, and then 1 1 0 0 1 1. Now we reproduce the ciphertext using the XOR operation. Now you can check this, the plain text we calculated using the XOR functions. Now, so this is the logic or reason behind using the XOR operation whenever we are using for any encryption decryption process. These operations are reversible. I hope this is clear. If any further clarification required, why we are choosing XOR operation for encryption and decryption in most of the other encryption functions. These XOR operations are reversible. Easily we can reproduce by combining the ciphertext as well as the key values. Any doubts? Any clarification required? How this XOR operation, which produces ciphertext based on the plain text as well as key which we provided, how the encryption decryption part is done using the XOR operation. What about others? Okay, so I'm getting the positive reply from you all. So I'll proceed further. Right. So I hope this I explained about the Fiesta cipher encryption technique in detail, right? If you want, I can proceed. I can explain again. I hope you're all clear with the Fiesta cipher encryption technique. If you have any query regarding the Fiesta cipher encryption technique, you can write in the chat box. I can explain further. I can explain one more time. Otherwise, we'll coming to the end of Fiesta cipher technique. We'll move to the next technique. The simple logic you need to understand when we are using the Fiesta cipher encryption technique is that the input, whatever the input we have, and make sure that the inputs are in the even numbers, right? So 64 bit, 128 bit, and then 256 bit, right? Now the input which has to be divided into two half, right? And then which is going to be one half of the data which are going to be idle, and the remaining half of the data we are going to apply to the different list of operation which I explained in the previous part. I hope this is clear. If any explanation required, you can write in the chat box. Okay, I hope this is clear. So I'll proceed further. I'll move to the next technique, which is called data encryption standard, right? So when we talk about data encryption standard, so this was the first block cipher encryption technique which was introduced by the IBM as well as and adopted by NIST, National Institute for Science and Technology, right, in the year of 1977. So when we consider about this data encryption standard, first of all, it is a block cipher encryption technique and which accepts a 64-bit block, right? I hope this is clear. And 64-bit block as well as 64-bit key. out of 64, but we are going to use only 56 bit, right? So what is my plain text size when we talk about DES, which is data encryption standard? Plain text size is 64 and key size is 64. Out of this 64, but we are going to use only 56 bit key. Why we are going to use only 56, that I'll explain in the further slides or further sections, right? Right. So under this slide, you can understand only this point, right? And when we talk about how this data encryption standard which works, right? So here, let me explain, right? So this is a 64-bit plain text. I'm taking a bit, not the characters. Let's try to understand. It's a 64-bit plain text and 64-bit key. Now, whatever the input we have, first that is going to be applied to the initial permutation. When we talk about a permutation, what is meant by a permutation? Rearranging the position of the characters or bit present in the particular block. So for example, if it is 1011, I'm taking a 4-bit example, and initial permutation is the shuffling the position, right? 0111, right? Otherwise, so this can be considered as 1110. It may be in any order, right? So whatever the input which as given as a 64-bit, first that is going to be applied to the initial permutation. The initial permutation operation, which will shuffles the position of the character which present in the plain text. And after initial permutation, the round one operation will start. And in order to do the round one operation, we are going to get some other values, right? So here I was talking about a 64-bit key. 64-bit plain text and 64-bit key. Very similar how we did the initial permutation with the plain text. Here also we are going to do a permutation choice one, PC1. The 64-bit key which has to be applied into the permutation operations. Right, again the permutation operation will know rearrange the position of the bits present in the key. After that, so we are using a circular left shift or left circular shift with respect to n bits. Say for example, if it is a 10 bits, 10 bits keys are going to be no left shifted. Why we need to do this kind of no permutation as well as left circular means? So increase the complexity of the key, right? So as I was explaining about that, we need to use a different or the complex function so that the key cannot be easily compromised. After that, what are the results which you are producing from the left circular shape, and those input are going to be passed to the permitted choice 2. From this key, again we are going to select some amount of key or some bit of keys. So which is going to be used for K1. So here we will get the input value, plain text, and then the another input value will be key. So this is my input 1. This is input 2 for this round function. The round function will accept a plain text as well as K1 as the input, and so that will produce some output. That output again, which will be passed to the round 2. Again in the key side, again, so there are the same kind of operation which are going to be repeated. Again, circular left shift, and then that will be applied to the permitted choice 2, and then it will produce K2. So here, whatever the output which we received from the round 1, so that will be the input for the round 2. So here, this is, let's assume this is input 3, and now this is input 4. Input 3 and then input 4, that will be applied to the round function that will produce a ciphertext. So this process has to be repeated for 16 times, right? So there are certain standard values which you're supposed to remember when we talk about DES encryption technique, which is my plain text size equal to 64, my key size which is 64, and the number of round function or number of round which we are going to produce is 16, right? After that, we'll be doing one more 32-bit swap operation, and then we'll do inverse initial permutation, which will be completely opposite to the initial permutation, and then we'll get the ciphertext value at the end. 64-bit ciphertext. Now, this is only for 64-bit block. Say, for example, if I have 256 blocks, that has to be divided into small segment where each segment will be 64, 64, 64. Now, I explained about only with this, the first block. Give me a second, I'll change the color. So this, the first part, the first segment I am taking, which is a 64-bit. I all these operations, right? Dividing into 32-bit, 32-bit, and then applying with the keys, and then round function 1, round function 2, round function till 16 that are applied only with the first segment, first 64-bit block. Again, if I take the second block, all these operation has to be repeated for the second 64-bit block, and then so this has to be repeated for third 64-bit block, and then the fourth 64-bit block. So this will produce again a 64-bit ciphertext, 64-bit ciphertext, 64-bit ciphertext again. So this will produce a 64-bit ciphertext. Right? I hope this is clear with the basic understanding how the data encryption technique works. But in the later part, I will know. Meantime, I will explain about what are the detailed operation which are performed in the each operation or each round or each steps. I'll explain further. Don't worry. Right? So the same diagram which I explained, right? So I'll move to the next slide. Now, this is what the combination or the initial permutation table. So these are the standard templates, right? Suppose if you have the 1 to 64-bit, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 till, or if I start with the 0, right? 0 to 63. This is what the initial permutation, right? All the bits are which are going to be arranged with. No, they've taken it from 1 to 64. I'll go accordingly, right? The first bit in the last row, last column, right? 1, and then 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So which is 8 cross 8. We'll have the 8 rows and then 8 columns. By the way, whatever the input values which are present in the 64-bit block, the position which are going to be rearranged in this order using the initial permutation, right? The 9th bit and then 10th bit, 11th bit, 12th bit, 13, 14, 15, 16. By the way, the entire 64-bit after initial permutation, which are going to be arranged or placed like this, right? After this, when you talk about inverse initial permutation, right, again, so there are again defined formats, right? The first element, right, whatever the element which you are getting after the list of operation, the element which are going to be placed like this, 1 to 8 and then 9 to 16, right, and then 70 to 24, right? We can remember this the pattern or box through which the different bits are which are going to be placed in the specific order, right? Now I'll explain about this expansion or permutation operation with further explanation with the steps. Now, I was explaining about different steps which are going to be implemented, right? So, when we talk about this, the round function or round one, right? So, this is what the detailed operation which are going to be performed inside the one round, right? So I was explaining about a 64-bit plain text which is dividing into 32-bit. Once again. I was explaining about the 64-bit plain text which is divided into left 32 as well as right 32. So this is left 32-bit and then right 32-bit. I hope this is clear. And when you talk about a 64-bit key, the total size is 64-bit. Out of that, we are going to take only a 56, right? So the left, again, the keys also which is going to be divided into left 32 and then right 32, where the size of the key, I mean partition is 28-bit, 28-bit, right? Now, whatever the key which present the left half, which are going to be divided into left shift, say for example, if I am considering that 8-bit shift, right? 8-bit left shift of the right half of the, sorry, left half of the key, and then very similarly, this the 28-bit key again, which are going to be left shifted by 8 bits, right? So from this again, so this will produce a 56 only, 56-bit key. From the 56-bit key, again using certain operation, I am going to select only 48-bit key. But at the same time, right, when we talk about the FSL cipher technique, the left 32-bit and then right 32-bit, left 32-bit, which we are not going to use for any further operation, and the right 32-bit, we are going to use some certain operations. The first one is that expansion or permutation using the E table. When we talk about expansion, what is the size of the right of, which is 32-bit? Now this 32-bit, which are going to be expanded to 48-bit, means we are going to add some additional bits with the help of some padding, right? So 32-bit are going to be expanded into a 48-bit value. So that is using the expansion or permutation or using a E table. So here at the end, here we will get a 48-bit plain text and then 48-bit key. So now it is easy for us to do the XOR operation. I hope this is clear. If you have any queries so far, you can write in the